I've met Hollywood actors, Idris Elba. I've met Donald Trump Jr., the son of the president. I've met basically every big person in politics on the right from Twitter. And I've done this very, very deliberately. And it's one of those things very similar to, let's say, girls, where once you get started, once you begin the process, it becomes easier. Once you start and you start getting a few girls, you end up with lots and lots of girls. Once you start meeting important and influential people, you'll meet lots and lots of important and influential people. If I didn't advertise the fact just now or put the picture on Instagram, nobody would have a clue that Donald Trump Jr. and I speak to each other. Networking is about taking a chance, and taking chances is expensive. When I met Donald Trump Jr., he said, if you're around on these dates, I might be free for half an hour. And I was in Romania. How many people fly from Romania to New York, 3,000 miles, and sit there for a week for a maybe on 30 minutes? Most people go, I can't do that. Or they'll say, can we guarantee, what about this? And they pressure the dude. And then the dude's gonna say, well, I can't guarantee, I've got a very busy schedule. How can I guarantee you anything? I'm the son of the president, I've got a super busy schedule, I've never met you, I don't know you. Meeting you is really not gonna benefit me that much. I don't give a fuck about you, I'm not gonna guarantee you a thing. If I tried to pressure him and said, okay, what about this day, this time, this day, this time, to try and get my guarantee, he would have bailed. So instead I said, yeah, okay, I'm around. And I flew there and I spent X amount of thousands of dollars and it paid off. There's been times I've done similar things for other important people and it hasn't paid off. But this is the reality of networking.
If you still think Andrew Tate never expected his powerful connections to matter when his legal problems began, his old courses tell a different story. Long before his arrests and legal battles, Tate was already teaching the value of connections. He wasn't just selling courses on money or women. He was also selling the idea that knowing the right people could change your life. Tate himself talked about meeting Hollywood actors, Donald Trump Jr., and influential figures on the political right, and explaining that once you begin meeting important people, it becomes easier to meet even more important people. Tate described networking almost like a chain reaction. You take the first opportunity, you show up, you take the risk, and eventually that risk can pay off in ways you never expected. He even gave an example involving Donald Trump Jr., explaining that when they met, Trump Jr. told him that if Tate happened to be around on certain dates, he might have half an hour available. Tate was in Romania at the time, and instead of asking for a guarantee or trying to pressure him,
created a system that allowed me to convince girls to do this, allowed me to retain 100% control of their income, allowed me to make sure they were effective, because it's a super competitive industry. Don't think this is easy money. You're just going to put a girl on the camera and they're going to get rich straight away. No, it's very competitive and it's very difficult. I learned every tip and trick it takes to make sure a girl gets paid. I know how to make sure the girl can't run away, because once you teach a girl how to do this, she has the ability to make unlimited money from home. Why would she still give it to you? Why does she just run off and keep it all for herself? Why are you getting your percentage? I learned how to do everything to take a nobody and make her a somebody. I learned how to take a nothing, turn her into a cash cow. And betas from all across the world would be sending money into her.
Into confirming the meeting, Tate said he simply decided to take the chance. He flew thousands of miles, spent thousands of dollars, and waited for possibility of getting that meeting. According to Tate, that gamble paid off. And that story tells you a lot about how he viewed networking. To him, powerful connections weren't something you waited around for. They were something you chased, even if the opportunity wasn't guaranteed. He said there were other times when he made similar sacrifices for important people, and nothing came from them. But in his mind, that was simply the price of networking. Sometimes you take the risk and lose. Other times, the relationship becomes valuable. And years later, that relationship with the Trump family became one of the most talked about parts of Tate's story. In June 2024, Tate appeared in a Twitter space with Donald Trump Jr. while promoting a meme coin called Mara. Around the same period, Justin Waller, described in the transcript as a close business associate of the Tate brothers, spoke about visiting Mar-a-Lago and meeting Barron Trump. The transcript says Barron was helping his father's campaign connect with figures popular among Generation Z. And suddenly, the old story about networking looked very different. Tate had spent years telling his
author is going to be very indicative of a typical consumer. She isn't going to know a lot about what you're trying to do. She isn't going to know a lot about technical stuff. she isn't really gonna understand a lot of the things you say. I'm talking about my mother anyway. My mother's an idiot. My mother's an idiot. And I mean that with all due respect, because she's a nice lady, but she's just stupid. My dad was the smart one. They ain't gonna know a whole bunch. So even when I launched my PhD course, I said to my mom, I'm gonna launch a course telling guys how to get girls. And she said, oh, don't make more men like you out there. That's what she said. I was like, what do you mean like me? She goes, oh, well, the way you are with women. And I sat there and I thought, okay, bang, I know this is gonna work. Because even my mom knows I'm pimping hoes. Even my mom knows, she's seen so many chicks coming out the door, even my mom's like, all right, I don't know what kind of son I've raised, but he's tearing through these chicks dangerously. So with the PhD course, I knew it would be a fantastic idea. Because even my mom was saying to me, look, you're gonna make some dangerous men out there, all of them. So sometimes she said some pretty smart shit. There's a level, you know what? There is a level of intelligence which comes from absolute stupidity. So like, smart and stupid is a circle. So you have smart at the top, and you have stupid at the bottom. And you have this circle. And let's say this is the smart side, and this is the stupid side. So it's in half. This is stupid. I know this is written bad. And this is smart. But sometimes you can get comments.
Audience that knowing influential people mattered. Now he was publicly connected with members of one of America's most powerful political families. And that is where the obvious question comes in. If someone has spent years deliberately building relationships with powerful people, what happens when that person suddenly finds himself facing serious legal problems? If you were in Tate's position, would you trust political connections or your lawyers? Let me know in the comments. Asterisk, asterisk, because that question is exactly what makes this entire situation so interesting. Tate had repeatedly presented himself as someone who understood how powerful relationships worked. He believed that if you were willing to take risks, travel, spend money, and put yourself in rooms with influential people, eventually those relationships could become extremely valuable. But there's a huge difference between networking and being able to make legal problems disappear. And when Tate's legal situation became more complicated, that difference became impossible to ignore. At one point, the transcript captures the frustration surrounding his situation with a simple question. If Tate was supposedly so close to powerful people, why was he still dealing with legal trouble? The answer given in the discussion was that political figures were unlikely to put themselves directly in the middle of such a controversial case, especially when there was already enormous public attention surrounding the allegations. The transcript specifically references the fallout from the Epstein scandal and the pressure surrounding anyone associated with controversial figures. The argument was essentially that even if someone had connections, that didn't mean those connections would automatically translate into intervention. And that brings us back to Tate's own philosophy about networking. He has spent years teaching people that sometimes you have to take a chance without knowing whether the other person will help you. He said that when he was given the possibility of meeting Trump Jr., he didn't demand a guarantee. He simply said he would be around and made the journey. That was his.
If you've bought this course, which you obviously have, congratulations, you're going to change your life for the better.
He explained his PhD course to YouTuber Anthony Dream Johnson.
Pimpin' Hose degree, PhD, yeah. And that was about me teaching how I managed females in those scenarios. How I controlled their emotions, how I convinced them to work and give me most of their money.
So what are you showing us here?
Here is the PhD program of Tate's.
Sylvia Tobushka is an expert in human trafficking. She's been researching the Loverboy method worldwide for years.
Is Andrew Tate, in your opinion, teaching sex trafficking methods to an audience through these programs?
Many saw someone who represented a larger battle against the system they believed was controlling them. That's why the phrase "free top G" became so common among his supporters. They treated his legal problems as their own cause. They traveled together, ate together, shared videos, and continued promoting his ideas. The community that Tate built continued to function even while Tate himself was dealing with legal restrictions. In a strange way, that may have been one of the biggest achievements of his entire online career. He had created a brand that could survive without him being physically present. His followers could spread the message. His clips could continue circulating. His courses had already been sold. His ideas had already been copied. And his name had become so recognizable that even negative coverage continued to bring attention back to him. That is the paradox of Andrew Tate's story. The controversies that were supposed to damage him often made him more famous. The criticism created more clips. The legal cases created more headlines. The arguments created more engagement. And the more people argued about Tate, the more people became curious about who he was. That cycle is exactly what helped create the enormous audience surrounding him, but also created a problem. Once your entire public identity is built around being untouchable, every legal setback becomes more damaging to the image. If you tell millions of people that you're stronger than the system, then being trapped inside a legal system becomes a direct challenge to your brand. If you tell people that powerful connections are everything, then people naturally want to know whether those connections can actually help when you need them most. And if you repeatedly say that you don't trust the authorities, then every investigation becomes part of the larger battle you're already claiming to be fighting. This is why that old Donald Trump Jr. clip matters so much. Not because it proves that Trump Jr. could or would save Tate. It doesn't. It matters because it shows how Tate himself viewed the relationship. He presented it as an example of successful networking. He told his audience that he had met the president's son and that the relationship existed because Tate had taken a risk. He traveled from Romania to New York without knowing whether the meeting would happen. He spent thousands of dollars because he believed the opportunity was worth it. And years later, when his own legal problems became enormous, that old story suddenly looked like something completely different. People started asking whether Tate had been building those relationships for exactly the kind of situation he now found himself in. Again, there is no proof in the transcript that he built the relationship with Trump Jr. specifically to escape future legal trouble. That would be speculation. What we can say is that Tate openly believed influential relationships were valuable